Welcome to VBA Modeling for Supply Chain Planning and Financial Analysis. Here we will teach you how to write your own VBA code within Excel. This will be presented to you by Supply Chain Systems of Miami, Florida. Welcome to Lesson 7. I want to take a moment to reiterate some things. Foremost in that is the lessons that we're giving here are really aimed at trying to give you a good foundation for creating models. I've structured them so that they add on each other. It's a cumulative knowledge, and hopefully you'll see the progression throughout taking the entire series. But I want to emphasize that I've gone through some of the textbooks and extracted out what I feel are some of the best techniques and the best commands that will serve you well in creating models for supply chain planning and also financial analysis. All right, with that said, Lesson 7 is going to focus on a few things here. The first one is using cells designation as a command instead of range. Redimensioning an array. I'll show you what that means. Also, we're going to focus a little bit on execution speed and demonstrate some techniques on how to speed up your program performance. And in addition to that, we're going to illustrate the public variable and how it retains the value even after the subroutine is finished. And we'll toggle a Boolean flag from true to false and back again in order to accomplish that. Okay, so it's going to be an interesting lesson, and let's get started here. Let's look down at some of the dimension statements that we have up here, and I don't want to spend too much time on it, but we've defined some integer and long variables here. I want to emphasize it really wouldn't make a difference as far as the performance. You'll see that everything calculates fine, even though I mixed up the type of the variable that's being dimensioned here. In this case, I is long and the integer j is going to be defined, and they'll still perform the same way. You won't see any difference in what actually happens as far as whether it can execute or not, but I mixed it up on purpose just so you can see that there's really no effect upon the program. We have a range variable. It's called the range, and we're going to have a timer in here. So we're going to make it nice and large, make sure there's plenty of space in it. So we have a double as a designation for the variable start time. We have defined an array as long, and in there we're going to actually have an unlimited size to it because we're not predetermining the size of this particular array. And then we have another variable called curval as a long variable also. All right, let's hit the F8 key and get started on some of the code down here. We activate our array spreadsheet as you see right here, so we're already on it, no problem. Next one is that we're going to copy this original set up to the top, so let's go ahead and do that. And you can see it's just a duplicate copy at this point. And here's where we're actually going to toggle our Boolean flag. This BeFlag 1 over here was actually defined way up here in our public dimensioning statements, where we actually have BeFlag 1 as Boolean. So just to show you where that is. So this is defined ahead of all the subroutines, which is going to make it now a public variable that will retain its value even though a subroutine has finished. Go back down to our lesson number 7 here. There we go. All right, so right now if we check BeFlag 1, you can see it's equal to true. And if we go ahead and execute this, if it's equal to false, it should go over to here, but watch what happens. Skips over that part and says, we want to take that true value and make it false now. And you're going to see how we're going to use this flag in just a minute. but we're pre-initializing this that our current value of the flag is going to be false. So just remember that. Our next statement here is we're going to put up a pop box, an input box, and we're going to say 5 rows down. So our one dimension is going to be 5 rows, and we're going to check that value. If it's 0, that's not a legitimate value, so we would just exit the subroutine. After we go to the next one, 5 is less than 7. So therefore, cells down would equal to 7 if it was larger. I'm restricting the number that the user can put in at this point. I don't want it to overrun the size of the array or the data sets that we've defined here. So I did put a limitation on it. That's going to be false at this point because 5 is less than 7. And then we have our pop-up box for the next number. We're going to put a 5 in again and do the same kind of test for the number of columns. So I'm just hitting the F8 key repeatedly here. We're going to initialize our start timer. It's looking at the internal clock of the system. And let's see here. Oh, there it is. A nice large number you can see. So it's just a timer here. You wouldn't really understand that number, but take it from me, that's the actual time of day that we have right now. And here's where we actually redimension the array. So now we're saying that this array is going to be a limited size, and it's going to be a 5 by 5 array. Hit the F8 key. We're going to select the top left-hand corner of our new array. Alright, and that's where it is, right up here in C3 is the top of our array. Alright, we're going to set our range variable, and that just got set. That would actually be the 5 by 5 array starting at this box. Now notice how this statement is structured. It says active cell. Well, what was the active cell? It was the one we just defined, and that's C3 or 3 comma 3 in cell notation. Alright, then we say range, and we're going to say where are the locations of the top and bottom, top left hand corner and the bottom right hand corner. Alright, so 1, 1 in relative terms. Cells is a relative number. So since we're here, this is the top left hand corner, and our bottom is going to be 5 down and 5 across. And that's the structure of that. So the range variable is going to be set to this new range of cells. Alright, our current value, we initialized it to 0. And now watch what happens here. If you look down at the bottom of the spreadsheet, there's that status bar, and we wrote to it what our current selections were for the number of cells down and across, just for us to have a way of keeping track of where we were up to this point. Alright, here's where we're going to test now to see what our BeFlag is. Alright, BeFlag was made false, and if it is false, we're going to actually turn the screen updating off. So if we hit that, you can see it executes that part of the statement because this is true right now. When we hit that again, we have now turned off the screen updating that you see over here. Okay? Then it will run through our nested loops for our timer. The screen kind of moved a little bit on us here. Just want to scroll down. There we go. And we're going to have an outer loop of I and an inner loop of J. And it's going to take each of the cells and it's going to rewrite the values that it was reading from over here, okay, and put them back up here within the size of the box that we just defined. So without going through all of the details of that right now, this is how we're reassigning the array. And you can see it's going to repeat through that. Let's put a breakpoint in here and let it finish its job by hitting the continue button to run it automatically. Alright, so it did all of those cells now. Now the next statement is going to clean up everything else that's there. Remember, the screen is off, so you're not seeing anything being reflected up here at this point. We're going to go ahead and execute the next two lines. Okay, and it cleared out the other rows that we weren't using. And then we go down. We're going to turn the screen updating true. We want to see what actually happened there. All right, and there we are. We have our 5 by 5 array, and it rewrote the numbers in the proper sequence, okay, that it got from down below. All right, the next statement, it has a execution time, a pop-up box or a message box popped up, and I wrote this out so some of the information is plugged in as variables, and some of the information are just strings that I defined that were going to be in this particular message. And you see what happened down here. So screen update, it pulled in the value of the flag, which was false at this time. Then I wrote the rest of this. These are the delimiters, the ampersand sign. Here's our timer. All right, and it's giving me the difference between the start time and the timer. All right, and it's writing out as seconds. And then we have our cells, or how many cells down and across we had. When we hit the OK, all right, it executed the rest of the lines here. And as far as what happened, it cleared out some more cells. Okay, it assigned a temporary array to this particular range. All right, and now we said screen updating true, so that's where it showed everything up on the screen that had been calculated. All right, and the message box, okay, had popped up, and you saw what happened there. All right, so finally, the last line here is that the status bar has got to be cleared out, and we're going to hit the F8 key one more time, and you can see now this is back to where it should be. Now that's all well and good. We did it slowly by hitting the F8 key repeatedly, but we don't get a sense of how fast this will execute unless we actually run the whole thing all at once. So let's run this thing. Let's get it back on the screen here. All right. Now move our cursor anywhere up there, and we're going to hit the run key right now. There we go. All right, put in the 5 value again. We're going to use the same size. And it says that when the screen updating is happening, it took about 0.066 seconds. We're going to do this one more time. And we'll put our 5 in and our 5. Now when the screen updating is false, okay, that says that it ran in 0.04 seconds. You see the difference there? Let's do it one more time. See what kind of numbers we get. We're keeping the same size array so that we can compare these two. All right, when the screen updating is occurring, it took 0.047. Again, we're going to do the same thing and make it 5, 5. And when it's false, it happened faster, 0.035 seconds. So in this particular case, you could say it's probably about a 25% increase in the speed of execution when I literally turn the screen off. Writing things to the screen for the computer actually takes, in relative terms, a fair amount of time. And that's why you're seeing this difference. So I highly recommend that you use this mechanism here for turning the screen updating on and off. Similarly, you can actually take off calculations where it will not calculate the entire workbook or worksheet. You can control what calculates, and that's another major area for you to improve performance of your program. All right, that's it for now, and hope to see you next time, and enjoy your day.